And here it says, recently the intention was exposed that in the lands of the sun, terras do sol, and lands of the Brotherhood, terras da Irmandade, there would be a way of life that is as simple as possible. It was said that these two new sectors of Figueira would be very careful not to complicate things there and to have a life that is as simple as possible so that we won't spend our whole day in function of things for us, but that we may do the work of reconstruction of the planet, the work of stimulation of souls, the work of union with the kingdoms of nature, with the spiritual kingdom, with the Devic kingdom, so that we would have time and possibility to be occupied of these things. And as none of us is dispensed to do practical, material, technical works that are typical of the sustenance of the life of the surface. No one is dispensed of these works on the surface of the earth. We would have to simplify this sort of work to the most so that it wouldn't occupy our time all the time, so that we wouldn't fail to do the main things. And then someone asks, in what aspects could this happen? It seems, the person says, that the dynamics in Figueira, the day by day, is too complex already. How would it be for us to simplify this? Would be food simpler? Would the groups be smaller? Would there be more people in retreat? Well, we become simple when we renounce to the processes of our personality and when we become connected with our inner self, because our inner self is very simple. So if we are seeking this interaction with our inner self, one of the first things that happen is that we become simple. We gradually occupy ourselves of something that is simple, that is essential, that is pure. So this simplifies things, this modifies life. So it's not about looking for simplicity in food, in groups, in retreat, nothing material, but it is about our being as in contact, the most in contact as possible with this inner reality, for us to manifest the simplicity, for us to manifest this economy. Because here it is about economizing energy. It is about dealing with energy, with everything, with economy. That is, our not being using or abusing things. All of this brings simplicity. So if we don't need something, there is no reason for us to have it, for us to look for it, because if you seek something that in reality you don't need, this won't simplify your life, this will complicate your life. So at first, we have many consensus among us which simplify life, but this inner contact is what places this in a true reality. The stages that human beings have lived so far, I don't know if they have been of simplification as it has been requested in this time and this stage, because in the previous stages, as human beings, as incarnated beings on earth, we have gone through stages that were not simple. That stage of atomic condensation, for us to be condensed, materialized. Then we went through the stage of forming our cells, our physical cells, our subtle cells. Then we began to have a physical body as humanity, and then the endocrine glands began to emerge, then blood began to circulate. So none of this was very simple. These were very complex things that were connected with many worlds, with many models of beings, of human beings. So it was not simple at all, the formation of human beings, the formation of the bodies of human beings. And after the endocrine glands, the formation of nervous system began to take place. So it was not simple. So while all of this was being formed, human beings were alive. Human beings were inside of this process. So the process of human beings was a process, I don't say complex, but an elaborated process with all these things in formation. Then the etherical centers began to be formed. So the life of human beings was not simple. It was a group of things to reach a material density in material bodies that would be apt to live in this world and develop matter in this world, a matter that composes these bodies. So all these things that were complicated have ended. The body is formed, it has its form, its structure, it has everything it needs to live material life. And so that in material life, it may manifest and radiate the energy of the soul, of the monad, and so that it may be a collaborator. They may be collaborators of the hierarchy. Human beings are prepared for this today. So now the moment of simplicity has come because all of this is done. And here in physical life, we would have to simply use of all of this without complicating ourselves. And for this, you will have to basically liberate ourselves from our memories. There is no possibility for you to live in simplicity, keeping memories. So this is key, this is the point. As we spent so many stages creating and being built in all these sectors, now we would have to forget all of this, forget this whole trajectory. We would have to liberate ourselves from the memory of all of this and all of this that happens throughout this progress of ours. So now the moment of simplicity has come for us to be simple so that we can act as we are supposed to act. And if we keep memories, if we are thinking about the past, if we are having in mind everything that has gone, keeping remembrances, this impedes you to be simple, basically, because any memory you have is complicating the things that are taking place at that moment, which are new things. A memory, even of what happened in a previous moment, is complicating your life, because what has passed is already assimilated in now. What is happening now at this moment with us brings everything that we learn, everything we live, everything we have to live. So there would be really no real need for you to remember anything. So this is what makes life complicated. So it's useless to simplify food, it's useless to simplify each one have only 2 pieces of clothing. The simplification is to forget what it has passed, is not to be connected and drag what has passed from a previous moment. It's for you to liberate yourself from all of this and be there alive, awake, before the present moment. This is how things become simple. So if you are in a work like this, thinking about the time you were a dentist, or the time you were married, or in the time you lived somewhere else, all of this complicates your current life. This enters there as complication, mainly in the on the mental plane, because what is here now is not what you lived before. What is here now is a synthesis of everything that has happened to you, everything that has happened to the planet so far. What is here is a synthesis, so it's simple. Now, if you begin to bring to the present moment all this memory of facts, you bring to within this the memory of what happened in a previous moment. You are already breaking this simplicity. You are complicating this that is so simple, this that is so spontaneous, and which would come by itself. Now, besides our being very careful so that if it's possible we are attentive to what happens now without not even thinking about yesterday of what happened a little while ago, I believe that we are capable of this at some moments, but not the whole time, because the addiction to think about the past is very strong. So we have to train to let this go as if it had never existed before. You are not denying anything, because what has passed is synthesized in you. You are a product of what has passed. But if besides this you are thinking about the past, complexity begins. This is why people are so complex and things are so complicated, because people are not capable of living entirely what is happening at the moment. A behavior that helps very much for you to simplify, to liberate all this memory, for you to be calm and quiet at the present moment, is you knowing how to be silent and observe. Because if you observe without being silent, you are going to contaminate everything you are observing. Now, if you are silent with your mind, you are not commenting, and if you are silent and observing and attentive, this is the way for you to have conditions to liberate yourself from this past and liberate yourself from all this thing that complicates you uselessly, because life wouldn't need to be this. So in this Terras do Sol, lands of the Sun, and lands of the Brotherhood, Terras da Irmandade, we would be invited not only to have simple food and clothing. This is part of material life, and this is a consequence. This comes by itself if we are really simple. A simple person must not have a complicated external life. The external life is complicated because the person is not simple. So in these sectors, we are invited to train all of this, to have all of this very much in mind. As soon as memory comes, you throw it away. Don't think about this. Don't rebuild this. This is very important in these two new sectors of Figueira, if life has to be simple. So if in Terras do Sol and Terras da Irmandade, they know how to be liberated of memories, so there you will have a simpler place. I don't know how. It depends on the degree of liberation of the memory of these people. This is what it depends on. While you have what passed in mind, things are complicated. And then this is reflected in everything, even in the way you organize the house. Maybe we wouldn't need anything on this table, but just the table and nothing else. But this is not the reality. And to know how to observe is not observe and form a judgment. It's to observe, to see what is being manifested, what is emerging from there. Because if you observe and put your comment there, this is not observing that frees you, but it's an observing that fills you with more knowledge, more news, but it doesn't bring freedom to you. It doesn't simplify you. The observance that simplifies is the way of observing and making no comment about this, just capturing, just observing, just recording without adding anything. There is a lot of work here, right? In the simplification of life, a lot of work, really. So in this land, Terras do Sol and Terras da Irmandade, there is this whole program. It seems that the program is to plan, to take care of the house, treat the animals. Yes, this is also the program, the schedule. But the true schedule is to simplify. The true schedule is simplicity, for you to reach that which is real, that which is it's really supposed to be at the current moment, and not doing today something you used to do before, something from yesterday, to begin to live today what you have already lived. All of this is lack of simplicity, all of this is complication, and on these lands we would really have to be simple. We waste our whole day with things that are typical of human beings, of life, and we would have to be gradually freed of these things. We would really have to be disconnected from these things. So the beginning is this, or the principle is this. But now, besides this, it's necessary to have a very steady intention of being identified with the one consciousness, because the one consciousness is the synthesis of everything. So although we are dealing with so many diversified things, dealing with situations and people that are so different, with tasks that are so different, being in evolutionary degrees that are so different from one another, for this not to become complicated, so that this may really be simple with all these circumstances, it's necessary for us to have a very steady intention of being connected with the one consciousness, rather than with this or that. All of this is what makes things complicated and highlights this lack of synthesis. So we can live all of this that we are living. We really have to go through or live this role at this moment. But it's necessary to have a steady internal and external intention of being identified with the one consciousness. So everything that is not the one consciousness, everything that is not the total thing, we use and then we release it, we become free of it. Otherwise, we become complicated, we become complex. Imagine if you have to deal with hundreds of people, if you were connected and interested in the consciousness of each one, where would you end up? So if you have many daily tasks, if you have all of that which is external life diversified, and if you are involved with this, where will you end up? If each one who enters here, you look at them as if they were a separate being with all the comments you make, where will you end up with this? We would have to really have this steady intention of being the one consciousness, of being placing everything that we capture, that we grasp within that consciousness. So everything you observe, everything that comes to you, everything that happens to you, everyone you meet, all the things you do, you get this and you place within the one consciousness. Certain things say, put in the hands of God, this popular sentence, put in the hands of God. Everyone understands this. So you get this and you put in the one consciousness, you include this within the one consciousness. You consider the consciousness to be one, and everything that seems separate to you, you put there. So there is no way to argue with someone, because the moment you perceive this person, you put this person there. From then on, the person can do anything that it no longer touches you. You have placed them. You did what you could with them. You did the only thing real with them. You got the person and put them in the one consciousness. From then on, what could they do that could touch you if you have placed them in the one consciousness? Do you see how life can be simplified? Not with food, with clothing, with furniture and house. You simplify life when you live one consciousness. And everything that is happening, everything that involves you, including yourself, you put there. If you get things and put there, anything can happen here. That at the end, it's going to be fine. So you put this there. And everything that happens there, you have placed there. So it's there where you are living it. This is how life becomes simple. Everything becomes simple because everything that happens does not have the same effect that it has if you are all fragmented, if you are all divided, dealing with separate consciousnesses. With separate things, apparently you are really dealing with them, but your consciousnesses should not be in this fragmentation. This idea, right, of being this steady intention of being the one consciousness and of placing everything in the one consciousness, whatever it is, this can be interrupted, disturbed by that which we call our mistaking thoughts, the thoughts that the brain creates, our habits, our gestures, everything that is not this, everything that is not this unity. And although this happens, although this continues to happen, this should not distract us from being this unity, this one consciousness, and really placing everything there. Really placing everything there, because it is there where things merge together. This is where things are synthesized. This is where the group, the whole, evolves. Who began to do this, the one who begins to do this, is right away receives a task, a work, a service. They are in charge of this by the hierarchy. So when our work in this field is advancing, when it is beginning to exist, this work is going to evolve with the service we are going to render. So, as soon as this begins in our lives, as soon as the simplification begins to enter our lives and our consciousnesses, we receive a task. At the beginning, it is a minimum task, a partial task, but we receive a task. So the sign that this is taking place, that our being is being unified, the sign that we are beginning to become simple is that we receive a task from the evolutionary plan. And then we have to be very attentive because this task that comes, this task is what is going to give the energy, and it's going to make it possible for this union of consciousness not to be interrupted. It is through service that this is going to continue, because this begins with our effort, this begins with our experience, and then at a certain point, you should not continue doing this unity, this simplification. You don't manage to do this. But there is where a task begins, and it is the energy of the task what is going to give you the possibility of developing this unification. And we need, before the task that comes, and before this opportunity that comes, of dealing with an energy that is not for us, an energy that is for the benefit of the evolutionary plan, we have to be careful while dealing with this, not to let enter there more than a certain amount our analytical mind. So generally the task is presented to us, the service is placed in our hands, and the analytic mind enters there. When the analytic mind enters there, a part is already deviated. It is no longer what it was originally, because the analytic mind has entered, and the analytic mind is not for this, for distancing that which is the original gift of service. Analytic mind is for us to have discernment during the work, during the service. But these opportunities of service are very subtle. These opportunities of service are so mixed with our lives that we don't even realize that they are there. And if the analytic mind enters there before it is the time, you turn your back to an opportunity of service, because service, the task, is not always understood right away. It is something new. It is something with which you're going to learn how to deal. So if you place your analytic mind there, your analytic mind is your mental experience. If you place yourself before something that is seeking in you a result that is completely new, your analytic mind will impede you to take this step. So service, the work, is something that at first we did not expect. We don't count with this. It is nothing of that which we thought, we imagined, we idealized. So when the analytic mind enters there, it is a whole danger. It has to enter afterwards, when you have assumed, when you are within the thing. Then it is necessary for you to discern, for you to apply everything you know in the best way possible, everything you have learned in the best way possible, for you to have discernment. Now, our capacity of analyzing and discerning that we have developed throughout so many thousands of years, it's not always applied in a new thing that is happening now. This is why analytic mind, before the opportunity of service, is an obstacle. It would have to be a very much purified analytic mind. And even so, it has aspects that react before that which is new. Another aspect of us needs to enter there, not analytic mind. So simplification, simplicity, has all of this included. Now, if any of us has managed to detect the approximation of a service, the approximation of a task, or if they have received a task, they should know that this is the path, this is the key for your union, your higher union, your synthesis, your simplification to take place. If this is put aside by the analytic mind, you remain without any possibility of evolving in union. You have no possibility of evolving in this unification, in this simplification, and in this simplicity. So we become ever more complicated, because when service reached their lives, they brought restrictions. Analytic mind did not embrace this totally to think about this later on. Later on, you need this for you to keep this at a certain level, but if it enters before the time, yes, the thought of today. Do not let the mind act beforehand in a work that is supposed to be done. This is by Sri Aurobindo. The power that acts in you will take care of it in the right time. This is the contrary of what is taught in the world. This is the opposite of what is taught in the world. Do not allow the mind act beforehand in a work that is supposed to be done. The work that acts in you will take care of it in the right time. The mind comes later. So we are speaking of tasks, services that have been given to us, presented to us, given to our intention, given to our purpose of being of doing this higher union. Because there is no higher union without service. It doesn't exist. And service is not that which you want to do in your way. Service is that which is presented to you and that you either accept or not. The mind comes later. This is the thought of the day that it's here, evidently in the energy of today. Does anyone else have anything else? The life of the inner being? If you are interested in the life of your inner being, in living according to your inner being, if you are interested in it, your life is going to gradually change towards this. Your life is going to become gradually transformed, and the things of inner life will begin to penetrate your life. Sometimes slowly, sometimes gradually. Life is going to gradually change. Life means your way of being before life. The things you do could be the same, but the life is changed. Life is changing because your way of doing things is changing. If you see the transformation of your life, if you see your life is being transformed by a force that is not yours, that things are taking place far away from your planning, this means that the inner being, the inner self is acting, the inner self is organizing things. And when this begins, when this takes an impulse, you organize something, and when you see mysteriously, this is undone, because it was not that. So you see that it's being another life, something else is entering there. So sometimes we do so many plans and we become disappointed when everything is undone. We become disappointed because we are addicted to unreal things. When you have a plan and this is undone mysteriously, this means that your inner life is entering there. Your inner life is entering there because things change regardless of your will, your planning and your control. But this could also happen, apparently, seemingly, under your control. If you are very much in tune with your inner life, if you are very much connected internally with the intention of your inner self, so this coincides with that which you are becoming conscious of. So true life is not always a surprise for us, not always. But for this, it's necessary for us to already be in tune with this, so it won't be a surprise. But if there is not a certain attunement, then it's a total surprise. It has nothing to do with that which was expected. Someone says that she goes and comes back, she knows the way, but she does not assume it. How can she help herself? The ones who are like this are going to end up doing things out of tiredness. They become tired, and when they are tired, they surrender. It's not the only way. But the ones who say, I go and come back, I know the way, but I don't assume, they have to get tired. When they get tired, and that's it, they do it. It's longer, because until you get tired, it takes a lot.